Sara Sigmundsdóttir has always been one of my favourite athletes in the sport of CrossFit because of her attitude and her personality, her love for food, and the fact that she loves to suffer and always puts herself in a hole and is so competitive.
I love the pain and I love the suffering.
To the bar! Back to the bar!
I honestly can't believe that she struggled so badly with body image issues, and even to the point where she was starving herself. And that's something I relate to myself. I've got body dysmorphia, I struggled with eating disorders. To see one of the elite athletes talk openly about these struggles that so many of us go through is really refreshing. Seeing how she's gone from that mindset to where she is now is incredible. Sara launched her collection of clothing at Wit Fitness, and there was a big focus on celebrating women's bodies, celebrating muscular females, and that actually stemmed from her backstory of struggling with her own body. As a kid, Sara avoided sports. She only started training in any way at the age of 17, and in her mind the reason she did this is because she really wanted a boyfriend. All of her friends had boyfriends, and she thought that if she lost weight then she would get a boyfriend, which is, I feel for her there, that's quite sad. We shouldn't feel like we need to change our body in order to find love, but that's obviously how she was feeling at the time. She said, my only goal was to not get muscle. I would never want to lift in front of a guy because I'd be so embarrassed of how strong I was. I can't believe she felt that way, that she was embarrassed of her strength and of her muscles and how strong she was as a person, even as a teenager. The first few years of her CrossFit career, Sara was starving herself, underfeeding herself to try and keep herself shredded and to stop her from putting on muscle. She said, I wanted to be skinny and that was the only thing that mattered. She was training for aesthetics over performance. In a podcast with Clemmy Telford, Sara talks about how she was always heavier in her childhood, but she wasn't necessarily bigger than her friends. She just weighed more on the scales, and that really got to her. Clemmy started talking about Kate Moss and that era in the UK when everybody was trying to be that heroin chic thinness. That definitely affected me. I saw Effie from Skins and I really wanted to be as thin as her. I wanted my hip bones to poke out. That was such a toxic mindset, but it's definitely something that swept the whole of the UK. Sara agreed with her and she said, yes, I was trying to be like that, and she couldn't understand why she couldn't be like that.
I was wearing this belt to be skinnier.
She had this perception that girls shouldn't be competitive and strong and fit, and she was so embarrassed of her ability as a girl. She would even take steps to make herself look like she wasn't as good as she was because she was scared to appear good and to try hard. She has said that she was so embarrassed of when her face went red and she was visibly sweating because she was so into what she was doing. And that makes me so sad because I think there are a lot of people out there like that. There's this pressure put on us to look beautiful all the time, and when you're competing in a sport, when you're trying really hard in a CrossFit gym, you're not going to look perfect. You're probably going to have a red face, you're probably going to be sweating loads, your hair's going to be all over the place. It's fine. It's absolutely normal. We are not ornaments. We're supposed to be strong. We're literally in the gym to work out, and there should be no other expectation on us to look a certain way. She never wanted to get neck muscles. She was thinking to herself, if I get neck muscles then I'm quitting. She wanted to be strong but with no muscles, and she thought, if I starve myself I'll find a way. The turning point for her is she watched a Ronda Rousey documentary where she talked about being strong and tough and muscular in the ring, and then in the evening putting on a dress and looking like a queen. Sara massively related to that, and she thought, yes, I can do that too. I can be that person. Just because I have muscles it doesn't mean that I'm not feminine. I can be both, and it's not embarrassing to try hard or to have muscles. She started to see what her body could do rather than what it looks like, and she saw the muscles that were developing on her body as proof that she'd been trying so hard and a visible sign of her effort. She went from starving herself to try and keep herself small to eating 3,000 calories a day and properly fueling her performance and gaining muscle and trying to improve at her sport. She says her favourite foods are pizza and Ben & Joe's peanut butter ice cream.
I love food.
She does still struggle to this day. She sees competition photos and she feels like she does look too muscular in some of those photos, but she was saying that over time that does diminish and she starts to feel much better about herself. And I think that's so true for a lot of us. When we see photos from a competition, we can start to pull our bodies apart and we need to remind ourselves not to do that. The way I think of doing it is, what would I say to a child or someone that I loved? Would I allow someone to say that about them, or would I get in between them and say no, and stop saying those mean things, that is not okay? And that's what I do to myself. I have to intervene in my own mind. I'm like, no, I will not talk to myself like that. I don't deserve that. I am more than my body. So if you struggle with that, that is something that I would try. Sarah's new goal is to inspire more women to not be scared of gaining muscle.
I don't want anybody to grow up like I grew up, of like being afraid of being strong.
And to not be scared of working hard in the gym, to not starve themselves, and not be scared of getting bulky.
I hope that I can be a role model for young girls that are afraid to get muscle.
She said in an article that she wants girls to look up to her and say, Sarah did not starve herself, feel bad, and try to go on as little fuel as possible. She was happy, she had fun, and she looked good. She said that her main goal is to find that balance and to encourage other people to find that balance. And I think that is so important, certainly for me in CrossFit, and learning to be more neutral with my body and to not see it as an ornament, as something that is made to look a certain way, and to just allow it to look however it looks when I am at my healthiest. I do wish that more women could stop being so scared of putting on muscle or gaining weight or being heavy, and focus on what our bodies can do rather than what they look like. This is part of a series on inspiring women in CrossFit. If you like this video, please watch this next one about Sam Briggs. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!